phone's ringing.
Why do we have an old-timey phone?
I don't know.
Hello, boys. It's me, the big man in charge, Bob Chapek. You think we wouldn't find out about your little Rehab podcast, huh? We have a whole team monitoring WWNT.com every day. You two foolish Canadians that you just put yourselves in the shoes of Imagineers and fix our problems? It's so much harder than that. I mean, I wouldn't know personally. I don't handle any of that. I just cut budgets. But anyway, if you think you could do our jobs better than us, why don't you own up and fix what was my biggest problem? The Enchanted Tiki Room and the Country Bear Jamboree. Ugh, both gross. They barely sell any merchandise. Something must be wrong with these. I know even though you're fanboys, you could probably agree with that. Why don't you prove who's better by rehabbing these attractions and then get back to me with your ideas? Honestly, I don't know what to do. People didn't like my marionette show idea, so I probably could do something else. Oh, and if you play this on the podcast and I find out, maybe you won't be able to access your Disney Plus account tomorrow.
Oh, shit.
I mean, there's always a chance it won't work anyway, but I could also turn it off. You have 1 hour. Tiki Room, Country Bears. Make me money.
Oh my god. Oh my god, what are we gonna do? They know where we live!
You're listening to Ride Rehab on WDWNT.com. And now, here are your hosts, Tyler Mann and Thomas Kiernan.
Welcome to the Ride Rehab podcast. I'm Tyler Mann.
I'm Thomas Kiernan.
And every episode we put ourselves into the shoes of Imagineers, but apparently they don't like that.
Unsurprising.
We put ourselves into the shoes of Imagineers to blue sky or writer's room kind of thing, come up with some ridiculous, fun ideas.
Well, as we learned with our interview with
Brian Collins.
Brian Collins, thank you.
Former Imagineer
Brian Collins. The Imagineering department is very secretive and cannot take outside suggestions. And so I'm sure they have a very low opinion of us, reducing their arts. I almost said their arts and crafts. That's not the word I'm looking for. Their art and their craft to a 1 hour podcast.
Yeah,
I think this is the first time that we've been demanded to have a mandate. And
well, yeah, on the last episode, I was like, you know what, let them come, and I guess they
were listening.
They were listening. Yeah.
We're recording this episode from a very dark room that we were just kind of like shoveled into.
An echoey room too.
Well, it seems vast, but I can't get any sense of dimensions because of how dark it is. The only things we have in here are podcast recording equipment and a telephone.
A rotary telephone.
Certainly, I don't know if it's rotary, but it's certainly an old telephone.
Yes. So...
I
guess we have an hour. Where do we start with this? Do we start with why we have to do these two? If for people who don't know, maybe. Yes, Tyler, man. This very niche podcast. Let's explain what these Disney rides are. These classic Disney attractions. I mean,
the last two attractions to ever feel the touch of Walter Elias Disney's hands.
I mean, let's explain what events preceded this, leading us to do these two together.
They insulted the journalistic
First
integrity.
Of all, they referred to us as an unscrupulous source,
which is honestly one of my favorite things. Like, I want to wear a T-shirt that says "unscrupulous."
Oh, we have them.
Perfect. Because of all the things to be called unscrupulous by, the cult-like company of Walt Disney is. I think that's hilariously ironic. We only have an hour.
Yeah, sure. Starting from when we start. Sure.
Okay.
It makes sense we do these two together. They are both a quintessential Disney review type show.
Yes.
Walt Disney always called his attraction shows because they're like, even a ride on a track is technically a show of some kind.
Well, these are also very much shows because you sit down and you watch them like shows.
They feature robots singing songs.
Yes.
Which probably should have been the title of this episode.
Robots singing songs.
Robots singing songs, yeah. We have a bunch of bears performing on a stage, and then we have a bunch of birds singing above our heads.
Yes. Both are robotic. They're both robotic animals that at the time were cutting edge technology.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I have no doubt that when people went into the Enchanted Tiki Room for the first time in the 1950s and saw those little birds singing and talking, they were like, oh my god, it's real!
Which should we start with?
Which one came first?
Yeah, Tiki Room.
Tiki Room came first.
Tiki Room came first because Walt had a hand in it, and then Country Bears came after Walt did.
Yeah. I mean, Walt, very famously. I shouldn't say very famously.
Walt's last laugh.
Exactly. I don't like that.
That's what it's titled as in the Imagineering books I have.
Oh, okay. See, I thought that sounds like the title of a Batman story. Oh. Walt's last laugh, and you can picture like Walt Disney with a Joker face. And...
Oh no.
Anyways,
Tiki Room.
Tiki Room. So obviously, let's address the elephant in the room. This is a sort of very much a Polynesian culture. It's very much a misinterpretation of it.
We got tiki idols. We got singing.
We got the pounding drums. We got volcanoes.
Plants, there's volcanoes.
It's all these stereotypical things. But to be fair, it was the 50s. Now, the other question is, and this is a question that I'm often faced with, being a big fan of the works of Howard Phillips Lovecraft. I
don't know where you're going with this.
Is there value to the Tiki Room, despite the fact that there is a little bit of cultural misappropriation / racism in it? I don't think it's racist. Unless you count the birds speaking in various accents racist,
no,
but I don't think so.
They sing the songs in the original language, and it's just the whole tiki aesthetic when it's assumed that is what that culture is.
Yes.
Is when it's wrong. I mean, we already have birds from each country doing these outrageous accents.
That's what I was saying as well.
Which is,
but they're birds, I guess.
We made a point of going on it the past 2 times that we've been there.
Honestly,
both attractions.
It's an entertaining show.
And they have little to no lines.
Yes, that too. And you get to sit down, and if you ask nicely, you might be allowed to start the show.
Yeah, which is a really fun... I mean, it depends on if the cast member knows what you're talking about. Because it's just one of those things people on YouTube are like, you want to be a little bit more interactive at Disney? Ask if you can start the show.
And it's probably okay, because you'll probably be the only person there.
Yeah. Oh.
Anyways, the Enchanted Tiki Room, cutting-edge technology for the time. Didn't Walt Disney, he went to like some exposition. He saw a little robotic bird, and he was like, I'm going to make a whole room full of these.
He bought it, and he brought it home to the Imagineers, and he's like, figure out how this works. And I
want a room full of birds.
It's like when Walt Disney used to show you all the attractions on the show.
I want a room full of birds where the walls talk to you. Walt, what are you talking about?
Yeah, he brought this to the Imagineers. He's like, figure out how this works and make it, and they did. And it's not just birds. We have singing plants.
Yep.
It's tiki statues on the walls that start singing. It starts raining in the middle of the theater.
Not in the middle of the theater.
You're in the middle. It starts raining you are in the theater.
And the effect of the rain is a very good effect.
Yeah. There's a little bit of everything. And it's one of those shows where it happens around you.
Yes.
There's no bad seat in that theater.
Yes. Everywhere. And that's another thing that's really good about it, is that it's so detailed. Like every little inch of that room feels like it was crafted to make sure it directs your eye somewhere where there's an animatronic. And even if even though we've gone on it a few times, I always sit down and during the show I look around and see, okay, are the other birds and the other plants and stuff reacting to what other things are? And the answer is kind of yeah.
Yeah.
Like. It's more than just
every little click and servo.
Oh yeah,
those little robotic bodies. You can hear them.
Well, let's get to the Rehab then, because I think we've talked about the sort of state of the ride as it is now.
We should address Moana. If they had brought in Moana, okay, let's say they did.
What would it have been though?
I assume it would have been all the same. If it was an overlay and not a complete replacement, I assume it would have been the birds singing some music from Moana.
But why? There's no talking animals in Moana.
You have Maui who can turn into any animal. So you have a bird Maui. He's a bird most of the movie.
No.
You have The Rock just start singing or saying, hey, let's sing some songs to celebrate my friend Moana or whatever.
All right. Hey, it's me, Maui, and here's a brief little backstory on my thing. But we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about my good pal Moana. And then it starts, and we go through the plot of Moana, because that's all Disney attractions are. It's either a completely original idea like Country Bears or Tiki Room, or you go through the plot of a Disney movie. Yeah. And in this day and age, people just want to see the things they know.
I would like to picture it kind of like a Muppetsy retelling, where the birds are retelling the story of Moana, and they're like, and then there's Moana, and a little bird, one of the birds comes down, and it's like, squawk, I'm Moana! And it's like, oh, who cast him as the Moana?
Okay.
Like, it would be like a kind of comedic, like...
Tyler, man, I have something even better for you.
Oh, no.
You know those weird little coconut monsters?
Yeah.
Them. They're marketable. They're you can make them silly. They feel like a Disney version of Minions. Yeah, I know they like try to murder Moana and stuff, but we're just like, don't worry about these guys. They're our friends now, or some nonsense like that. And then they act out the show, and you can have the little animatronics of them with like shaky heads and spooky noises, and I don't know. But I don't think Moana's a good fit for that kind of show. That's a full animatronic show. Like, I'll get into my...
I mean, are you getting
now.
rid of birds entirely and they're just the coconut guys?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or if the birds are there...
They don't talk, though. They communicate by, like, drawing faces on each other.
Which is why you have Maui there as a bird, like you said.
Oh, okay.
You have one bird and it's Maui. Or the other birds that are there are just regular birds. Because like I said, in Moana, there's no talking animals.
Yeah.
There's only Maui. Oh, wouldn't it be bad if, like, Tamatoa showed up? Oh. Ugh. He comes and sings his song.
Projection on the wall.
Oh yeah. In the windows, we'd see his like legs going by or something.
You have just a giant animatronic head like coming from the ceiling, like how Trixie the bear comes from the ceiling in Country Bears. You just have a giant head come in from the ceiling, like, hi guys.
I'm gonna sing my forgettable song now. My forgettable, boring villain song.
So forgetting about Moana, thank goodness. Honestly, if they did do some kind of overlay, the birds were still there, and it was Moana, you throw in a couple of the songs, but the Tiki Room song is still there, I'm fine with that.
No, like...
Shade?
No shade to a little bit of shade to Moana. But, like, it was a fine movie, and I have no problems with it. No major problems with it, except for a boring villain song. But it doesn't... I don't think it would fit in that kind of show. I think Moana has to be the kind of show where you have live... Oh, that would be it, though. They'd just bring live actors in, and they'd come out, do a dance in the middle of the room, and then walk out.
Oh, man. I wouldn't mind if Moana showed up briefly and then danced around with the kids in the middle of the room a la Circle.
Oh, that would be cute.
Like the Lion King show, and then left, and then that was it. Like it was like an Enchanted Tales with Belle kind of thing, but with Moana.
Sure,
it is an intimate enough space where you and a small group of people where you can probably get away with something. I feel
like the one thing that we wouldn't be able to do well would be some cool water effects, because that would be a great visual for Disney to do, which is some kind of like Moana waving her arms and water moving around, and that's something that you'd only be able to do in an area where people can't go near the water. Because people are horrible.
Unless they were like raised above you. Because most of the show is above 4 feet in height above your head. Especially on the walls. How do you feel about Stitch? Because there is a version of Tiki Room called the Enchanted Tiki Room. Stitch presents Aloha Ikamo Mai. I'm probably saying that horribly wrong. But it's in Tokyo Disneyland, Adventureland.
Well.
And there's a Stitch animatronic.
As we know. As you know. As has been discussed throughout the Disney community, Lilo and Stitch is probably a better representation of modern Polynesian culture than... I don't want to say than Moana, because Moana is sort of I don't want to say a fairy tale, but like a myth or a legend or something.
It's magic, whereas Lilo and Stitch is based in sci-fi.
It's based in sci-fi, but it also takes place in the modern era.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's all that, like, Roswell-y, Men in Black, New Mexico type stuff just migrated over to Hawaii.
Sure.
Anyways, well, would it be the same though with animatronic birds, or would we have little aliens?
Oh no! Well, the actual show, Stitch animatronic in the middle, and then the Tiki Room birds interact with them.
Okay,
but
see,
no, I'd just do. I don't think you can do a version of Tiki Room without the Tiki Room bird hosts interacting with whoever the new character that comes in.
Well, okay, I think that's where everyone's gone wrong though, in that the idea is that they take the Enchanted Tiki Room and they're just like, oh, let's just throw one of our IPs in there under new management. This Stitch one you're talking about, presumably Moana, would just be, let's just have, I don't know, Hey Hey at the middle of the, Hey Hey's the bird, right? Or Hey Hey the pig.
Hey Hey's the rooster chicken, whatever.
Voiced by Alan Tudyk.
Yeah.
Just Alan Tudyk's head comes out from the middle.
Hi everyone, it's me.
It's me.
TV's Alan Tudyk.
Working actor Alan Tudyk. That man. Listen, Alan Tudyk's one of the best parts of the Doom Patrol show. So I'm not gonna shit on him. Anyways, the Enchanted Doom Patrol room.
I was gonna say, like, is there a Marvel or a not Marvel?
Well, all right, DC. All right.
Is there a Marvel property?
Let's get that character. Let's get that right out of the way. Then let's get the two big IPs out of the way.
Marvel and Star Wars.
Marvel and Star Wars.
You cannot put Star Wars in Adventureland.
Are you kidding me? Listen.
What? What would you do?
To quote one of our previous episodes and one of our guests, Mr. Nathan Hartman, Walt's dead. Who cares? Let's take a dump on his grave.
No, I'm saying, like, thematically, Adventureland,
Who cares?
And we'll talk about Adventureland at some point.
I'm sure we will.
Adventureland is the state of every type of adventure, whether it's like a mystical desert, like Aladdin,
Star
or if
Wars,
it's the deep jungles of wherever, the Congo or whatever.
Star Wars is a adventure story with a sci-fi coat of paint.
Okay, see, that's where I get upset. Okay, we'll talk about that. We'll define what adventure is later.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, generic adventure and like, I don't know, adventure otherwise. Do you know what? I would love to see a Flash Gordon show.
There is a jungle.
There is a jungle, but like, I want to see a bad Hawkman effect with a man doing his best Brian Blessed impression.
He's alive still.
Yeah, which is amazing.
He did. He's
128, but he's still
a projection effect in the London dungeons. We can get him at Disney World.
Yeah, listen, Brian Blessed has a distinct voice. He's very good at being loud.
Yeah.
And I would love to see. And Ming the Merciless. He shows up and he does a big hammy. Oh, anyways, we're getting off topic here. Enchanted Tiki Room, Marvel, Star Wars. Let's start with Marvel, because I think Marvel, just because of the nebulous state of comic books, has a lot more we can mine from it.
Now, we can put anything in that building.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be Tiki.
It doesn't have to be Tiki themed.
It should probably fit with Adventureland.
Do you know what I think would work pretty well in there? A Doctor Strange experience.
Sure.
We replace the middle thing with like a projection of Doctor Strange's face, or maybe his body or something, and we then have projection style effects that warp and change the room, or hide the room changing and warping as animatronics appear and go and such.
You could even do a lot with projection stuff.
You didn't watch Doctor Strange, did you?
I've seen Doctor Strange, yes.
Oh, okay.
I actually really enjoyed it until they tried to force the
Infinity Stones, baby. No, that's how you
throat.
That's how you do it. You build a cinematic universe. Unless you're DC, in which case you charge as fast as you can into a cinematic universe.
I can picture it in space too. Like here we are again talking about a theater in the round.
Yes.
I mean, but that space could be reinterpreted to a different different size or a different shape, and that building could become anything.
We have going back to Doctor Strange. The plot is Doctor Strange shows up, and we have the Eye of Agamotto at the center, which is the Infinity Stone. I don't think. Actually, no. I think that was an Infinity Stone in the original comics.
That whole section could be a sanctum. I agree. Yeah,
it's some wing of the Sanctum Sanctorum, and the room rotates, and then we do the same.
The room rotates.
Sorry, not the room rotates. The room shifts.
Sure, like make a rotating room. Sure,
it's called the Carousel of Progress.
And that way, the door you go in is the same door you exit.
Sure, why not? Although it would be difficult to. I mean, you'd have to get. No, I guess the Carousel of Progress doesn't have seatbelts.
No, but they do ask you to remain seated during the show.
Okay, you just ask them to remain seated during the show. Room rotates while things shift around to hide the fact that it's a bunch of animatronics and such.
So is he
you
like
project
opening portals to like?
No, he's not
other
opening
worlds?
portals. But you know how when they go into like the mirror world or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It's just like a like on top of our reality, but it
Yeah.
looks really cool and weird.
It's all fractal distortion.
Exactly. Yeah. You just project those onto the room as it shifts into its like show mode. And then it looks, fancier, and there's some stuff that's alive around it. The animatronics could just be like interdimensional creatures or magical creatures, or who cares? Even birds.
What I would do is I would have him open up portals to other worlds or dimensions and stuff, and then the spaces where there would be birds, you have like animatronics that somehow magically appear, and you could probably do a Pepper's Ghost effect or something like that. Or just it's just dark up there and you're not looking there. And then all of a sudden this creature just comes out of nowhere. The real cool projection effect.
Would we have a physical Doctor Strange cast member in the room who does this stuff? Or would it all be Benedict Cumberbatch on a 5x5 green screen soundstage he's like, Lord, and things happen around
Could you
him.
just not improvise dialogue right
I couldn't
there?
think of anything. Yeah,
you just went,
No,
you gotta give
Benedict
some
Cumberbatch
entertainment.
putting on a convincing American accent.
You gotta give some budget to those entertainment cast members.
No. Didn't you hear Mr. Chapek? He said no budget. He said, I cut that budget, keep it cheap. So a recording would work. But it also means that more mechanical things can be put in the center of the room without having to worry about a physical person pointing at things and waving their arms around to do magic.
Yeah, or it can just be like half the audience, or it could just be a smaller audience size.
Sure.
Honestly.
Well, regardless. And then what I was going to get to, but which we went off track for, we still have like the face wall talking stuff.
Yeah.
But it's Dormammu.
From the end of the movie?
From the end of the movie. He's like,
that'd be horrifying.
I'm pushing into your dimension, Doctor Strange.
The walls start closing in on the
Sorcerer
audience.
Supreme. Or we make it look like the walls are closing in on the audience.
No, just actually do it.
Are you kidding? Things aren't allowed to be scary.
What are you talking
If
about?
one kid cries on this ride, they're gonna shut it down. Some mommy bloggers are gonna go and complain and write huge articles. I just get very passionate about the fact that people don't like their children being scared when fear is a natural part of life, and
all of Rise of the Resistance is scary.
But it's Star Wars.
Sure.
In Star Wars, you're never in danger because the Force.
All right, well, we got a couple more minutes.
Okay.
Before we should probably talk about Country Bears. So
okay, so let's sit down and figure out an actual proper rehab for this. Now, there is the first option, which is just updating the animatronics and updating the values of the ride. Being like, here is a proper interpretation of, what do you call it?
And I got a bigger
Polynesian
point
culture
to make about that.
You update the sort of, you make it less, I don't know, what's it?
Kitschy?
Not kitschy, but like, I don't know what the word is, but I guess kitschy is the best way to put it. Backdated, outdated, whatever. You update the values of the ride to match our modern times, which is fine. I know there was a big controversy over pirates, but it's fine. Change is the only constant. And then you update the effects so that we don't hear quite so much whirring and clicking and crackling of speakers and such to hide those things.
Well,
and you
easily comes with just updating the animatronics.
And
new ones don't do
and
that.
you throw in some projection effects, because that's the hot new technology, is projection technology.
Yeah.
And when utilized correctly, it is quite effective.
Yeah.
Now, the other option is that you change the theming entirely. I would love to go into like a Mayan temple.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm on board already.
Yeah. And you go in, and then it comes to life. And maybe you go through the rooms of Xibalba to meet the gods of death. Although you can't say that. You can't say the gods of death, because the word death is forbidden on Disney property. Because God forbid kids learn that they are mortal and will die eventually. I mean, kids can't even grasp mortality. Like, you can tell a kid, one day we're all gonna die, and the kid's just gonna be like, I don't know what that means. Well, you can't hide from death. That's what I'm saying. Anyways, the point is, we go through some, or maybe we just explore some Mayan mythology. We make it sort of edutainment-y, because we know how much I love my edutainment. I don't know, we have like a feathered snake animatronic. We can still do birds. There's plenty of birds. But you see, we have the Quetzal bird. The
Quetzalcoatl?
Well, Quetzalcoatl was the Aztec version of Kukulkan, who was the serpent of the 9 winds or something like that. I think that was it.
Sure.
Quetzalcoatl is a big snake god who is a feathered serpent. There is a bird called the Quetzal bird, which has long feather tails, which were used to adorn the headdresses of important figures in Mayan, what do you call it? Society. Or Aztec society, rather. And it's also the official bird of Guatemala.
All right.
But that would be...
You're saying a bunch of words I don't know, but
It doesn't necessarily have to be Mayan in nature.
No, but I'd love to walk into Adventureland and see a giant Mayan temple. Would be super cool.
It's... What about, like, Henry Mystic's room of somethings?
Are you saying a mini Mystic Manor?
Yeah, but rather than it being, like... I don't know. Yeah, the monkey does something.
Okay.
And then all the various like paraphernalia around the room just comes to life and starts talking and singing and doing whatever, and we keep it a variety show. But I don't know. You make a little like.
I am on board. You have Henry Mystic like up in the rafters, and he's like, "Can you hear me down there? I'm preparing a projection show for you." and he's like, "Albert, don't touch that music box. You remember what happened last time?"
Well, he didn't know.
Albert touches it. It could just be
Henry Mystic's like
a non-canonical version of Mystic
It could
Manor.
even be a different magical item.
And yeah, he just brings it to life, and each one sings a song based on a different area or section of the world, because they have like the Nordic section, and
that's what I was
going to
say. We have various different cultural legends and such represented through little idols or not tikis. Little statuettes. Oh yeah, you can still have Polynesian
you can have
culture
a robotic
in there.
bird that starts singing.
Sure, why not? I mean, there could just be birds in there in general, and then you just go through this like fun jaunt across various mythologies of the world. That could be fun. Like that's there you go. That would be my right.
Do you know what my favorite part of Enchanted Tiki Room is? Sorry, I shouldn't say favorite. One of the things I love.
What would the pre-show be?
Oh, the pre-show for if it was our Mystic Manor one?
Yeah.
Well, you just definitely like you could still do the projection show thing where it's like a slideshow. It would be like a little garden of
a Zen garden.
Not a Zen
of
garden.
antiquities.
And then there's also like some statues of Henry and Albert in perilous situations, sort of like the Q is, where you get to understand how they know each other and everything.
Sure.
And then maybe every once in a while they'd have a really cool, just like one of those projection effects with like the LCD type panel where it looks like Albert's jumping around from like artifact to artifact.
I was going to say that we could also have the you know how that like rock wall, it turns around and there's birds behind it or something?
Yeah.
Like they intro the show, so what would we replace them with? Or would we just have talking birds? Or would it be Henry Mystic in an armchair? Be like, "Oh, welcome to my..."
He's back there?
No, that's too small.
No, I like that. You could build a bigger one. That waterfall is a pretty large section. But I was going to say my favorite part
could be like a oh, I know. What you do is you have a central idol of some kind of unknown origins.
The Shiriki Utundu from Tower of Terror.
Sure, why not? Or maybe some different one. And it sits there, and then the rock face turns around and it says, "Welcome to something something. You will blah 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 blah. Here's the preamble." And then you go in, and it teleports to the center of the room.
Oh my gosh! I know we only have an hour, but forgive us, Mr. Chapek. We're coming up with some genius ideas here.
Okay.
I would have it be themed to Harrison Hightower. It would be the Shiriki Utundu. Instead of Tower of Terror, though, we are in his Den of Antiquities. And it vanishes from that
pre-show area, and it appears in the center of the room, and we just hear a ghostly echo of him having already been sent to the fifth dimension or whatever, because that's still like the plot
ghost
of that, right?
realm or whatever. Yeah.
The Shirikyu Tundu then, like, how do I describe it? It feeds on people's fear, and
so it tries to scare us.
It turns into like a alien encounter thing. Cool. Because we're in a circular theater.
Yeah.
And you could do wonders with like specific sound projections now and everything. The room goes dark, and then a bunch of crazy animatronic stuff comes from the ceiling and pops up from the ground. And you have a horror ride right in Adventureland themed to this ancient tiki idol.
And you keep it in the Disney family by just pulling one of the IPs from another country.
It's an IP that was originally created though. It's
for
not
the parks.
It's not Twilight Zone.
Yes.
That was an original storyline.
Yeah,
it's Joe Rohde, and then at the end of the show, you have to trap it like the Divock box. You have to trap it in a Divock box. And then at the end, there's a physical Harrison Hightower actor.
Hi, I'm
who
Zach
says,
Baggins.
Everyone okay? Get out! Like he appears like in the middle of the room. That would be amazing. I want to go on Alien Encounter. I want to go on the first version of Alien Encounter. That was horrifying.
The
oh my gosh.
The Ghost Adventures. The
Zach Baggins' Enchanted Tiki Room.
There you go. It wouldn't be Enchanted Tiki Room. It would be Zach Baggins' haunted room of something. Hi, I'm Zach Baggins, and welcome to my haunted room. Did you know the ghosts?
I brought a rabbi with me.
I can't do this right now. We gotta move on.
Okay, yeah. I think we came up with some great ideas.
I think honestly that's a pretty good rehab.
I mean, you'd be losing Tiki Room.
We're going to lose Tiki Room.
Yeah, we're probably.
All right. I'm sorry, Disney fanboys. The truth is, none of the old rides
and everyone in between.
The old rides are not going to last. There is going to reach a point where the Walt Disney Company, whoever the CEO is, whoever's in charge, they are going to say, this is not marketable anymore. This is not what people want anymore. The time has come to tear it down and build something new. And that is not necessarily a bad thing, but that is the way things go. Everything changes.
Can you say this more sincerely, though? Instead of less...
You mean like
instead of less loud and direct?
But that's how I talk. That's how people have to hear it.
But people need the sugar coating.
No, that's what Disney's there for. You want to hear a nice thing about how, oh yes, the Enchanted Tiki Room is going into retirement. That's right. And then a week later, pictures of the room stripped of all of its nice stuff is leak online. Like, do you remember when they released the Stitch is going into seasonal operation, and then there's the photo of skinless Stitch? Anyways, the point is everything changes, and that is the nature of things.
Things have to fall apart to make way for better things.
Yes, everything dies and everything is born again.
I just want to say one more thing about Tiki Room, which is I love the way that it ends. They're like, everyone now, for this last section, get up on your feet. And normally I'm like, I don't want to clap. I don't want to join in. But in that part, the cast member is like, come on, everyone's standing. You're standing. And then they're like, good, now leave.
Yeah.
And then
now that you are standing
song,
out.
Genius.
Absolutely. You motivate people into standing, and they're going to want to get up and leave. Because they're like, oh, we're already standing? Look at that. Genius.
That song ends, and maybe 20 seconds later, the next show's coming in. Because the pre-show acts on a timer based on the way the main show is going. Same thing with Muppet Vision.
Yes.
As soon, it's timed out so that when one button is pressed to start a show, the pre-show also begins.
Yeah.
So that there's a good flow for everything. And it works. It works perfectly with Muppet Show. Everyone's getting out as the other crowd is coming in. Same thing with Monsters, Laugh Floor. But yeah, Tiki Room, I love that. I love the way they're just like, get out. And then you're clapping along to the song that you're like, oh,
they want us to leave.
That was it. By the time you're at the door, you're like, oh, that was the end of the show. Normally, like I say, what I hate about Avatar Flight of Passage is it has to end, and then there has to be this sad, quiet
But that leaves you wanting more.
As you walk out.
But that leaves you wanting more. You're like, oh, now that I'm back in reality. Just like when people watch the original Avatar. Do you remember this? When
people are depressed.
They're like, oh, I wish I lived in a world full of sexy blue people and lush jungles.
There's no exit for Tiki Room. You don't have to walk down a long hallway. You just walk out the door. You're literally right back in Adventureland. This is true.
But it's also not on the cutting edge of technology anymore.
Genius.
Okay, well... True. We've talked enough about Tiki Room.
Yeah, let's go to a commercial break.
And we're back.
I thought you were going to... I was just waiting for you to be like, what? We have a commercial? Yeah, well...
Let's talk about the last ride to ever feel the warm caress of the man, the myth, the legend, Walt Disney. Let's talk about the Country Bears Jamboree.
Yes.
This is another show where you sit down and you watch it. This is not a theater in the round. This is a theater that is in a proscenium arch.
Yes.
A classic sort of, I almost want to say a black box theater. That's not the right word, but if you were to go to a classic black box theater, that's kind of what you would see.
Sure. It's a classical theater setup.
It's a classical theater setup. And that means that we have the raked seating, which means that people can sit where they like. I always think there's a balcony. There isn't.
No, but it certainly feels like it, doesn't it?
Yes. I think they have like fake boxes or something. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm misremembering.
There's the secondary stages.
That's what it is. Yes, you're right. The smaller side stages.
But it feels like those are where the boxes would be.
Yes, those would be where the boxes are in a real show.
You're thinking about Phantom of the Opera. They have the fake boxes on the stage.
You mean the touring production?
Yeah.
Where it's just these two huge walls that are the boxes.
Like castle turrets. Yeah.
Listen, I don't want to talk about Phantom again. Especially
okay.
The one we saw was fine.
Country Bears. So, it is so dated.
It is very dated. The first thing that you always notice is the click of those eyelids on the moose.
Oh yeah.
Click, click, click.
On the animals on the wall.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I always forget that they open the show.
Yeah.
And you don't even think about the fact that they are going to be
there the whole time.
They are going to be there the whole time.
If you are sitting next to them throughout the whole show.
First time we saw it, yep.
All you hear is zzz, zzz, click, click.
It is very loud.
Yes. And to be fair, that would have not been a problem back in the day because, again, that was the cutting edge of technology. Nowadays, animatronics are much smoother.
Yeah.
Obviously, the number one thing you can do is just update the animatronics because I think the show itself stands up pretty well. Like, it doesn't feel dated. It feels, I don't know, it feels like a show that plays well to just about any audience. And I'm sure there are people who watch it and go, hey, that's just like our family or whatever.
It's more entertaining with time.
Yes.
Like, because it got to a point when it was outdated. Now, because it's so outdated, the song lyrics are just funny.
Yes.
And I don't know, I'd love to have gone on it a long time ago. I'm sure people were like laughing and singing along because they probably knew these words.
Well, I like to picture it. You know how they're like stereotypical rural folk?
Sure.
I'd like to picture that the stereotypical rural folk that they are depicting are the people who would go to that show and be like, yeah, that's just like Cousin Jeb.
I did take to Twitter during our time here with this phone call that we got from the big boss. And one of our followers, Mandy, says there should be, if she could rehab it, or if they could rehab it, they say that there should be some kind of projection so you can sing along. Like,
that's right, all the guys that turn me on.
Turn me down.
That's right. Yeah.
All the guys that turn me on, turn me down.
I think that's impressive that those lyrics have stuck around as long as they have.
Yeah, it's like the redhead.
Well, yeah. Well, that's another thing that's a no-no at Disney World is anything that explicitly references sex or sex making.
Yeah.
Sex making. What's wrong with me? Turn me on is very specifically a reference to being aroused in a sexual manner.
Yes, and I don't want to picture that with bear ladies. Anyways,
no, but But what I'm saying is that those lyrics are a little iffy and have stuck around for a long time, which is impressive to me.
What about
because I feel like in our
blood on the sand?
That's another thing.
They talk about blood.
That's one of the things that's really endearing to me about the Country Bears is that it has been it's uncompromising in its vision of these characters and of the things they sing. And I'm going to guess that a lot of the songs they sing are not original songs. They are known like country songs or something like that. Like Blood on the Sand does not sound like a song that Walt Disney Imagineers wrote. That sounds like a song that some guy sings around a campfire.
Yeah, although wouldn't it be great if the Imagineers were like, we wanted to come up with a very uncomfortable song that people would be okay not hearing the whole thing of. Do you think it's because it's in Frontierland that Frontierland itself, and we talked about this in the Splash Mountain episode, that Frontierland sort of encompasses this general vibe or feeling of a time that is way past that nobody's that interested in anymore?
Yes. So obviously, I think during Walt Disney's time, the Wild West and the frontier were still a big thing in American consciousness.
Yes.
I don't know.
Some of the biggest television shows
Absolutely.
that Disney was producing at that time as well.
Gunsmoke, that's the one that we always get advertisements for at the end of Twilight Zone episodes.
Yeah.
The Twilight Zone is just
Lone
a
Ranger.
quick hop away. Lone Ranger, there you go. I'm sure there were many, many others. And that's not to talk about the myriad of Western films that went out. Cameron Mitchell, that's how
I was about to say Minnesota Clay starring Cameron Mitchell.
Well, I was going to say that's also how he made his name, was in Westerns. And but the thing is, now the Wild West is not a time we look back fondly on. And it is no longer a time where the whole point of it was that it was sort of the new frontier of the world.
Yeah. Frontierland.
Exactly. So how would we change this ride beyond just giving it a nice spit and polish?
Well, my feelings about Toy Story being in the Disney parks.
Let's address that. Let's talk about Toy Story.
If they wanted to put something else, if they were going to put something else in Country Bears, I might honestly be okay with it. But listen very carefully, and I'm going to pop the audio, and I'm being very clear. Not a Toy Story marionette puppet show. That is not the answer. All of that sounds horrible. I can't even fathom that stage having like a full-size Woody animatronic, I'm assuming, that looks like it's a puppet, and I can only assume breaks away from being a puppet like Pinocchio or something. That would be
exactly what happens to it. Be like, hey, it's me. Or maybe they'd be like, look at how we're supporting local puppet artists.
Or it's just real puppets.
Marionettes thing.
If there's one thing I want to watch, if I want to keep a theater atmosphere, I'm like, other than the singing bears and Country Bears, which is just a fun, it's not because it's good that I watch that, it's because it's charming and it is one of those classic attractions that has little to no weight, and it's at least good for a laugh. Mm-hmm. If there's something I want to watch, it's something in a theater. How would I watch it as Wild West and still be entertained? There's this wonderful attraction that Disney has right now, or used to, in Disneyland Paris, called Cinemagique, where you're sitting and watching a history of film.
That's right. And then Alan Cumming shows up.
Alan Cumming shows
and
up
Martin Short.
Speaking French. An audience member is on their phone, walks onto the stage, and then Alan Cumming in the movie zaps him into the movie, so a live actor disappears and is in the video screen.
Well, the live actor turns into Martin Short.
Yes,
they put
the live actor was always Martin Short.
Yeah. They put him in a bad wig, and they give him a phone, and he starts talking on, and he walks up on stage, and you're like, oh, he's an actor because he just walked up on the stage. Because no normal courteous human being would do that. But anyways.
But there's physical effects that happen. There's this cool thing at the end where the screen splits open in half. I would do that. Disney has this big history of Wild West stuff already, so I would love to see sort of like Cinemagique, but if it was the history of Westerns according to Walt Disney's productions or Walt Disney Studios. But you have that same thing, like how would you make it entertaining? You have somebody from the audience walk on stage and get pulled into the movie. And
they have to go through various Western scenarios.
Yeah, and then you edit them into existing Disney Westerns, and then maybe you end with the cool train chase scene from Lone Ranger, which, honestly, the movie's not that entertaining.
Home on the Range.
But the final scene of Lone Ranger, the movie, is so good, with this gigantic train action scene.
Sure.
Anyways, Home on the Range, starring Roseanne Barr.
I don't know anything about it except there's a minecart sequence.
Of course, there's a minecart sequence.
If your movie even takes place anywhere near a cave, there has to be a minecart sequence so it can be turned into a 3D motion simulator later.
Maybe that's what we put there.
A motion simulator?
Yeah, a big theater motion. Like there's theaters where it's the whole audience is in one motion theater. So
now, because I'm a cynical, bitter man, and I would be perfect as a CEO because I don't care about any of these old things that everyone else likes. Yeah. That's not true. I like the Haunted Mansion, and some other stuff is charming. But like, if you said, Tom, here's a bunch of money. Your job is to make Disney better. The first thing I would do would be like rip out a bunch of the old stuff. Sorry, everyone. I'm a cruel, hard businessman, or I would be.
But that's why you make a good co-host.
Or I would, update stuff. I'd be like, you know what? I like the Haunted Mansion. I think it speaks to a gothic part of the world that it speaks to the Hot Topic kids out there.
Sure.
And
the Spencer's kids.
The Spencer's kids. And we'll just update it. We'll shut it down for a little bit, and we'll remake all the effects so that it looks cool as hell. However, if we have to stick to the Western theme, which I wouldn't.
Me neither.
And we'll go into that in a bit. I want to see a Western Gothic. I want to see, like,
ooh,
there's this atmosphere in the Wild West that lends itself to sort of old ghost stories really well. And that's what I want to see. I want to see Western-styled ghost stories. Can you not picture it? Like, there's a character sitting at the... He can be an animatronic or whatever, but he's got a guitar, and he's just kind of playing as you come in. And then he's sitting at a campfire, which is just an effect. And then he says, "Hi, welcome. You're on this lonely road out in the western frontier. Now, we like to tell each other ghost stories and such like that. And this is the story of Rattlesnake Malone," or whatever.
And it's all puppets.
And it's not well, we'll see. But it could be like a mixture of song and visuals. And I don't know, there could be like a spooky ghost man somewhere.
I don't know why. I just thought of the idea of like having a stage, but then the lights the lights go dark and the stage just like vanishes and the whole audience becomes like a part of the stage or something.
Do you know what would be really cool? You have this stage and it looks very small and limited, and then you reveal that it's actually just a scrim and the stage goes far way back and is actually a much larger space than it is.
Or it's like slightly around the audience, like PhilharMagic.
Sure.
I love that in PhilharMagic. That you don't even realize that now it's getting wider and wider throughout the whole
It's hard to say what exactly it would just be a variety show, because that's the thing. There's no plot to Country Bears. There's no real characters. Yeah, we get these broad stereotypes that we get the idea of what they're supposed to be.
It's like you're watching SNL, but it's a bunch of songs.
Sure. It's just a musical review show, but it's lovely, and it makes you smile and laugh. Now, I've gone in an opposite direction of that, where I want people to scream and be afraid.
Yeah.
Because that's what I like. But let's sever ties to westerns. Westerns, they don't make money anymore. People don't care about that.
Frontierland shooting gallery gone.
All of it.
Frontierland trading post gone.
We abandon this whole concept of the western. Because it just does not sell anymore.
Yeah.
Because the only people who like westerns are, I don't know. I don't even think kids like westerns anymore. When was the last time you saw a kid dressed up as a cowboy for Halloween that wasn't Woody? Doesn't that complicate
things? I can
things?
honestly say, working at Spirit Halloween store, that we had a western section, and I think people just bought the hat.
That's all people get.
It. There was full cowboy costumes.
I don't know if you know this, Tyler, man, but the cowboy is one of those lazy costumes. People are like, "Hey, Janice invited us to her Halloween party. You want to go?"
Sure, Karen.
And he just wears a flannel shirt and
a vest and a hat.
Not even a vest, just a flannel shirt, a cowboy hat,
handkerchief.
Maybe.
Sure.
Maybe. And he just looks like he's from Saskatchewan.
I'm looking for someone to ride. Taking out Wild West.
So we're ripping the Wild West out of Disney World.
Expand Splash Mountain. More furries.
They're already furries.
No, oh, you mean the bears?
The bears are furries, technically speaking.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. They're not anthropomorphic.
No, but I mean
enough.
just the general theming of like Splash Mountain, which is not frontier. It's more critter country kind of area. I don't know. There's the general feel of it being like more wooded. Like, and I can't even explain. Okay, think about Frontierland. The general aesthetic of Frontierland.
I'm bored.
Cool. Think about the general aesthetic of the queue line of Splash Mountain.
Yes.
You're really proud of that, aren't you?
Yes.
It's really funny. Think of it like now in comparison, the aesthetic of Splash Mountain. I don't know. I can't.
If you can't explain it, then don't bother, because we're on a time limit.
Forget it. Zootopia.
Zootopia. There we are. A Zootopia marionette show. We figured it out. I'm kidding.
Okay.
Speaking of marionette shows, that happens in Doom Patrol. There's a little marionette show to get us some good exposition.
You know what? Forget it. Get rid of it, and then just expand Adventureland. So Adventureland fits it. We talked about Splash Mountain, and I'm like, you know what? Expand the queue all the way into Adventureland instead of Frontierland. Just get rid of Frontierland and make Adventureland pour out.
We'll have a full Frontierland episode where we talk about...
Ew, no! That'll be the shortest episode.
No, what I'm saying is we just... What would we do if we just, like, took a scalpel and just, like... replaced it all and took it out and replaced it all with something, I don't know, profitable?
Maybe what we should do is, like, lay down a physical map and then just draw over it.
Okay, let's go back.
That'll be a video.
Let's go back to our...
We had sort of a closing point.
Not a closing point. I was going to say let's get we haven't even rehabbed Country Bears yet.
Oh, right.
It's
going to be more than half an hour.
Absolutely. Let's go to our go-to hot properties.
Marvel and Star Wars.
Oh,
gross.
So what kind of show? I mean, you could literally just do some kind of like stunt show in
way too small for a stunt show.
Sorry, not a stunt show, but maybe like a spectacle show in that theater. You have like one little cool little fight scene that moves from the 3 stages or something.
Oga's Canteen.
What if they just made it a stage? What if they're just like, let's just put on Shakespeare's here. Everyone please welcome the Florida Shakespeare Company.
Star Wars, make it like a canteen or like a variety show.
B. Arthur's Bar.
Yeah, make it Ahmeda's Bar.
I think we've done this several times though. I think there are several things throughout the Disney parks.
It's no longer a stage. It's now a full-on restaurant type thing. You sit down, there's fake drinks in front of you, like they're like glued to the table or whatever. There's waiters. It's like one of those restaurant experience things.
There's one problem with your plan.
What?
The raked seating.
You can tear that out.
But
fill in a hole or something.
But then the sight lines are ruined.
No, because instead of it being a stage, you just have people walking around the bar. Like, they just full out walk around like every single one of your table. What?
At once, there was a working bar on
stage.
Sure.
No, like how they have like the Faulty Towers dinner theater experience or whatever that nonsense is called. You're sitting in a room and people are performing around you or interacting with you.
But what would they perform?
Maybe a Western bar fight then.
A Western bar? That could be fun.
Yeah, you're literally in the middle of a stunt show instead of it being on a stage.
Oh no, that's dangerous.
Whatever.
You can't trust the public. Unless you have a very specific area where that happens and you don't let anyone sit there.
Yes.
That's different. And
it could be the stage. You can just remove the raked seating so it is
sure.
sort of level, and then there's certain things that happen to the left, right, and then on the stage.
Sure, why not?
Someone gets like knocked off a railing.
What's a Disney IP we can cram in there?
Oh my gosh. 3 Caballeros.
That stays in the theme of Western.
Yeah.
Why not? The 3 Caballeros are putting on a show. Here they are.
I would even be okay.
3 gay caballeros. Here's the story of how we fought an intergalactic monster, whatever the fuck the opening to that show is.
Oh my god, I'm trying to remember her name.
They fight this big furry bait type monster that definitely ate them in some fan art somewhere.
Here's what I would do.
Three Caballero show, have them come out, have them sing the song. They are literally the mascot characters.
No.
We're not talking animatronic. This is what I would do with one of those cheesy stage shows, like
Sure.
the Beauty and the Beast show. They come out, they sing a song, they open up the book, Xandra comes out, and she's like, we gotta go here, or whatever. And then you have some dancers come on stage, they sing a song or two, and then there's some cheesy fight scene, like one of those awful touring, like Raggedy Ann Live, coming to your mall, or whatever.
Raggedy Ann Live?
What
kind of shows did you see?
When Hercules came out in 1997, there was this Hercules event that Disney threw that would travel to local malls, and there'd be a stage, and somebody would come out dressed as Hercules, someone would come out dressed as Meg, and then behind the curtain, there was a giant puppet of the Hydra heads that Hercules would defeat.
Oh, that's cool.
They brought a tiny little slide that looked like one of Zeus's clouds, and there was a little merry-go-round that had the demon characters on it, and depending on your age, you got to either go on the slide or go on the merry-go-round, and then you get a commemorative plate from McDonald's or some nonsense.
Wow.
This was a huge thing.
I believe it.
I also remember it vividly, and I was scared of going in the slide.
Well, Tyler, man, do you know what that was? That was Disney not having confidence in Hercules. Rightly so, because it was not a great movie.
That movie was based on pop culture popularity.
Well, that was somewhere.
That's how they sold it.
Somewhere I heard that it was meant to be a commentary on mass marketing and pop culture.
They did the mass marketing.
That's the thing, though. That's the thing. Disney's never going to be able to provide us with any meaningful commentary on pop culture because they define that culture effectively.
Yeah.
But we're getting off topic here. I had an idea for what we could put in that stage, and now I lost it.
Okay, well, I was talking about Three Caballeros being a bad mascot show.
See, I wouldn't go with mascots. I would go full animatronic, because I think with an animatronic, you can give... Yeah, they're planted in one spot because the cables have to go into their feet. But
then hopefully they have the money to have an animatronic character walk out on stage.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
That would be amazing. If we can make Spider-Man fly through the air and then
Listen,
its position where it's going to land.
What you do is you just innocuously have some something across the stage that hides their feet while they walk. And no one will be any the wiser because they won't see like the poles moving up and down.
Are you like talking about like the How to Train Your Dragon live show where they had
what?
I
know there was a live show and it had some impressive like dragon effects.
Yeah, but they had like each animatronic was free roaming, but there was like this like go-kart base that it was like latched onto, and there was someone in that driving it around and pulling levers. Or whatever.
Oh yeah,
like the Wizard of Oz,
something like that. Yeah, where you just have to like just give a little bit of obscurity to hide the fact that these are animatronics. But I think and the mascot costumes never look as good as like an animatronic will. So that's why I always say stick with the animatronics and give Panchito his guns back. I can't think of any like Marvel property or.
That's because there is no Marvel property based in Wild West.
No, not Wild West.
Oh,
just
okay,
like,
just in general.
Just something that would fit on a stage like that. I mean, yes, you could throw your just random...
Ant-Man.
Okay.
He go tiny.
Sure. Why not? We get to see an in-depth look about how Ant-Man went tiny, went up Thanos' ass, and then expanded out and it blew up. That's how they killed Thanos. I don't know if you remember that you didn't see the movie, but Ant-Man, he shrinks down, he goes up Thanos' butt, and then he expands and it blows Thanos up. That Marvel 1602 could be fun. Like a stage show of Marvel 1602 was a story by Neil Gaiman.
Of course it was.
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? Those modern comic books and like Elizabethan era stuff, Shakespearean plot lines intermingling. Of course, that's Neil Gaiman. That's his brand, baby. But a Marvel 1602 show could be fun.
What would it be?
A loose adaptation of the plot of the story.
Which is?
The plot of the story is that something weird is happening. Stephen Strange is like, some shit's wrong with the world. And it turns out the world, for some reason, is ending early. And in order to combat that, it makes all these heroes come about beforehand. That's why it's in 1602 instead of modern age. Because the world is ending early, and Captain America has come back in time, and it's caused some kind of fissure in...
Some kind of weird...
Some weird stuff. Time. Blah, 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 blah. And so now they have to kill it. But it's obviously, because it's a Neil Gaiman story, that's not what it's about. It's more about the characters and more about the sort of situation they're in and the intermingling of the plots and such. You have you can have your blind Daredevil character who's a bard. He's singing his songs, and he shows up. He talks with I think he's just called Nick Fury in the 1602. Peter Paraguay. They go and they meet with him. It could be a fun little show that showcases a different side of Marvel. But the problem is that Marvel 1602 is very dark. And, in fact, Stephen Strange gets his head cut off. Spoilers. And he speaks to them through his wife's magic. It's spooky and it's great.
All right.
What about a show with the Watchers? You know the Watchers. They've got the big heads and the blue capes.
Oh, yeah. I think you meant like the Watcher in the Woods.
That could be fun. We'll
That's just aliens.
But the Watchers, and then they're like, here's what's happening down there, and then they're at the two little stages. There's two Watchers, and they're talking to each other, and they're like, what are we watching today, or whatever. And then we see some action-y stuff happen on the main stage, and then the main stage curtains closes, and Spider-Man drops from the ceiling on a thread, and he's upside down, and he's like, hey guys, I got a tight ass.
Oh my god. I can't. You just gave it to me. You said the Watchers are in the side section. Mm-hmm. And they're like, what are we watching today? And that just reminded me of two other characters that like to sit in a booth and watch stuff and make fun of it. Move great moments in history with the Muppets to that theater. Expand Liberty Square and give the Muppets a dedicated space to do a proper 15-minute show.
That could be fun. That actually is a lot of fun.
You have Statler and Waldorf who are like, this isn't entertaining enough. Yeah, go shoot somebody in the face. Or, okay, no, maybe not that.
No.
This isn't entertaining enough. Yeah, what if you wear a dress or something? No, that's
this isn't
also
Fortnite.
Not good for...
What's a fortnight? About 2 weeks. Oh!
That was genius.
Was it?
Did you just come up with that?
Yeah.
Or were you thinking about that for a minute?
I was just like, what's a reference to modern pop culture? Thank you. I would love another Muppets show. And see, isn't the Muppets 3D 4D experience getting shut down as well anyways? So
it's called Muppet Vision 3D.
Muppet Vision
and
3D.
At the moment, no, it is in.
If you say it's in seasonal operation, we know what that means.
No, they reduced the hours until Star Wars opened, and then Star Wars opened, and then they're like, well, it's going to open an extra hour later just because nobody's, going into that thing in the beginning of the day. Nobody's rushing into Muppets.
Country Bears.
It's
another one of those spaces that is so specific to that show that it's difficult to imagine what could go there instead.
I think Muppets would be a perfect.
I also think Muppets would be a perfect thing to go in there, and especially because the Muppets are they use real Muppets.
Yeah,
and then they just use pre-recorded audio to make the show go.
Yeah,
and to make sure that we have the Disney approved voices of these characters.
Or you do it like Monsters Laugh Floor, where the stuff that Mike and says is pre-recorded, but then you have these new characters who can interact with the audience in a Turtle Talk with Crush kind of way.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Turtle Talk with Crush is the only one of those that I like. Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, nothing makes me cringe like improv comedy.
But Turtle Talk is, they genuinely try and give you information.
That's what I like about Turtle Talk.
And
it's not framed as a Isn't it funny? It's framed as a come sit down and have a talk with a turtle.
And maybe some kids will say dumb things.
Kids always say dumb things.
Or some adults.
Yeah, listen. Turtle Talk with Crush. I went there once. That was all I needed. It was engaging. It was fun, and whoever was doing the voice was having a grand old time.
Especially when that kid started crying.
Whoa,
there was
yeah.
Whoa, that kid's going crazy out there.
Yeah.
That was so funny. Anyways, I think honestly, we might have taken a little bit longer than we were asked to.
He's gonna take that.
That's
out of
okay.
Our paycheck.
They love things that are longer than they should be, like lines. I don't know. That was fine.
No, they don't like things that are longer. They listen. If
he's not paying us, take as long as we want.
He's not paying us, but he made some vague, threatening comments. So that's almost worse than paying us.
Worse than paying us.
Well, that's much worse
than
paying us.
Is a vague threat.
Yeah.
That sounds about right. We don't, and he might yell at us again. He might give us something else to talk about.
Oh God. I mean, I'm glad that we're getting this attention from such a recognized figure in the world.
Even if it is bad attention.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know.
He's threatening us, but wow.
He knows where we are. That's the scariest part of this. There's no one watching us. Is that a door?
Has that door always been there?
Have we?
Maybe it's because we're adjusting to the darkness.
I think you're right. Hang on. Let me use my flashlight on my phone.
Oh, okay. You had your phone this whole time?
Yeah, but I don't want to use up data. We're in Florida.
That's true.
Okay, so let's open this door. Oh my God!
I hear the fake sound of birds chirping. I smell a Dole Whip.
We must be in Adventureland. You can't see us, but we looked at the camera.
Well, I guess we better. I don't know if we're.
Well,
an hour has certainly passed, and we have not heard back.
Okay.
So let's just go.
Well, let's take this podcast recording equipment with us.
Absolutely taking the stuff that it costs money, apparently, with us. So we're going to go walk through Adventureland, and maybe we'll see what else we can come up with for there. This has been the Ride Rehab podcast here on WDWNT.com. Thank you so much for listening. We love when you send us ridiculous emails of your own ideas, and maybe we'll read them out on the next episode. We almost always tend to do, or we put aside a whole episode. So Ride Rehab at WDWNT.com. Send us an email. Again, that's Ride Rehab at WDWNT.com. Address it to Tyler or Thomas. Talk with us on Twitter at Ride Rehab, and we have a website where we sell ridiculous merch.
You are more than welcome. I don't want to say you're more than welcome to cyberbully me. That's not a good thing to say.
Yeah.
You are more than welcome to provide me with criticisms. I'm always open to them, but just know that your criticism only has as much value as I give it.
And send us some dank Disney memes.
Some dank Disney memes?
Anyways, we're gonna
head. Send us some of that good weed. Send us some of that good Disney weed. Disweed.
So we're gonna go to Adventureland. We'll see you on the next episode. And yeah. Welcome to Weed Disney. That's the Disney weed store. Thanks for listening to the Ride Rehab podcast, a WDWNT production. For more of our episodes, park videos, pins, stickers, and much more, visit riderehab.com for everything Ride Rehab related. We're also super active on Twitter, so follow and talk to us at Ride Rehab. Want to drop an idea or rehab of your own that we'll quote in future episodes? Email us at riderehab@WDWNT.com. WDW News Today is the worldwide leader in Disney Parks news. For breaking stories, daily photo reports when the parks are open, and the funniest weekly news program, WDW News Tonight, visit WDWNT.com to learn more. Our next episode is Adventureland. Send us your ideas. We'll see you on the next adventure or whatever.